I'm delighted to be with you for a number of reasons tonight, representing St. John's Institute in Edmonton. My number one reason is that it's still snowing in Edmonton. Number two, your treasurer, Adrian Varcola, has asked me to keep an eye on things for him out here while he's in China. I think he's mainly concerned with the cost of the host bar. Number three, I also wanted to thank you for allowing St. John's Institute the opportunity to be a gold sponsor of your Congress. We want you to know that we are here for you, and when I say we, I mean all 4 institutes across Canada, and that we all have your interests at heart. We want to make sure we're a part of your development. So my question is, what are you here for tonight? What do you hope to get out of this evening's experience? A couple of free drinks? Some handshaking with the big guys who have supposedly made it? The career connection that's going to land you that big job you've been dreaming of? Well, I was asked to come and share with you some of my experiences networking and working within mentorship programs. What am I going to tell you tonight that you don't already know? What are you going to do with anything that I have to tell you? All of you young people, as we call you, you know more about networking than we ever will, than any of your mentors ever will. You've got all the networking you need at your fingertips, right? You've already made all the connections that you'll ever need, and the world that's in that little electronic palm of your hand has all the answers to all the questions you'll ever have to get where you're going, right? So just to be clear, I have nothing to say tonight. That is, nothing you don't already know, and that you haven't been told. All I can hope is that I'm going to say it to you in a way that you haven't heard it before, so you can actually hear it. Maybe not tonight, but maybe at some point when you actually get a chance to experience a mentoring relationship with someone who's giving of their time and spending that time on you. But a word of caution, please don't mistake what I'm about to give you as advice. I'm not qualified to give any advice. I'm giving you perspective, and it's only one person's perspective. So it could all be nonsense. You might want to consider that too. In fact, I could have been invited here as a cautionary tale, I suppose. In fact, a gentleman who participated in the Ukrainian Dragons event as one of the judges one day said to me, "So let me get this straight, you were born in Toronto?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "You grew up in Toronto?" "Yes, sir." "And then you moved out to Edmonton?" "Indeed," I replied. And he said, "Voluntarily?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Now why would you ever have gone and done a thing like that?" Well, anyways, not mentioning any names. But I'm here to give you a little bit of perspective because I've been places, and of course some of them are only 3,000 kilometers away, but some are psychological places, some are business places, some are nonprofit places. And as Elena mentioned, I happen to be fortunate to have had parents and a community who saw fit to make sure that my Ukrainian heritage was the thing that actually got me places, that gave me advantages, that gave me all of these different opportunities that I might never have encountered without them. So, I think the real reason I was asked to speak is because I am the product of a mentor. In fact, I'm the product of more than one mentor. I had the good fortune to be a beneficiary of several people who invested their time in me. And because of the time that they gave me, I learned how to see opportunities when none were readily apparent, and to create them where none seemed to exist. And this just informed the whole way in which I have chosen to operate and work within St. John's Institute. And I just wanted to say that you have an incredible resource in the sponsoring organizations that have seen fit to help you put together the conference, the Ukrainian Credit Union, the Ukrainian Dragons, the Professional Business Association, St. Vladimir's Institute, and all the others that have gone the distance and have actually given hard cash to make this possible for you. This hopefully will make your success come easier. Whether that's a good thing for you or not, I don't know. But why are they doing this? For the recognition? For the business that they might get out of it, Mr. Moneyman? Are they being guilted into it? Probably. Okay, maybe, but maybe not. Just maybe they'll get something out of it too. Maybe it will be a new perspective on dealing with a new generation of clients. So today I'm here to give you lots of platitudes because that's what you'll remember. Some of them you'll take away with you, some you'll use as a guideline for your mentorship encounters tonight, and some you'll forget as soon as you go for that next drink at the hospitality suite. But the following are my rules of engagement for successful networking and mentorship. The whole point of tonight's exercise is to use someone else's experience to enrich and inform your life and give you a leg up in your career. All these people around you have gone through the pain of learning something the hard way. something that you can possibly avoid learning in the same way if you're open to it. Someone else has already gone through that pain for you, so now you can take it as a lesson. And I get it, some things you need to learn on your own. My 2-year-old constantly looks at the red hot element and says, "Can I touch it?" Sure, and he doesn't. Anyways, hopefully not all of you will need to go that route. In any case, I've got 2 sets of rules of engagement. One is for the mentors. For the mentors, never forget that the people you are mentoring are the ones who are going to be looking after you someday. And that little leg up, that little shred of dignity that you can give them by answering their questions, by giving them some time, by giving them something of yourself, that will help them gain a different perspective, and it will encourage that little spark of life they've shown by even coming here today. Through your time and your experiential resources, that will be the thing that they remember you for. A kernel of support, excuse me, an iota of dignity, and a little experience is a very valuable thing. Second thing, mentors, never assume that you are not being observed. It used to be by the people that you wanted to hire you, that you wanted to value you, to give you a chance. Now it's by the people who will learn by your example, and eventually will treat you the way you will treat them. And if you choose not to be generous with your spirit and your talent and your expertise, then don't expect that those who are coming up behind you, when it's time for them to encourage you to leave the working nest, will be kind to you. We all know retirement isn't mandatory anymore in most professions, so how is it you're going to make yourself very useful to the next generation? And number 3 for mentors, your mistakes are what got you where you are, right? You need to own them, to be proud of them, and share them. And that's what's so valuable about you right now. I bet you didn't know that. Your mistakes are what's valuable about you right now. Sure, there are lots of things you did right, lots of things you did on the way up to get where you wanted to be, but the things that made the most impact on you and that pushed you that little edge further to get to the pinnacle of your careers were the mistakes that you made, and those were the mistakes that made you. So please be generous in sharing information about those mistakes. And the last one for mentors, look for the value in what your mentee, can teach you. Don't fail him or her by assuming that only they are here to learn. If you're worth your salt as a mentor, then you know that you still have a lot to learn. And that in itself is something you can teach through this process. In fact, you may only be learning now how much there still is for you to learn. In fact, my children are constantly telling me how much I don't know. And one of those things you may need to learn is how much you have to give. But most importantly, it's those unknown knowns. The things that you think you know, that it turns out you did not. That's what your mentees need to hear, and that's what we hope you'll share with them tonight. And now, the rules of engagement for the mentees. Ask more than tell. Old people love that. But what questions should you ask? Here are some of my favorites. What's the most important rule or principle or convention that they've ever broken and turned out to be right about in breaking? Very valuable lesson. What's the rule that they regret breaking? We're talking, could be rules in business, rules in community development, in management, and leadership. What rule do they regret breaking? The one where they turned out to be wrong. What do they do when they hear the word no? What was the most valuable lesson they ever learned, positive or negative? And what do they wish someone had told them when they were your age and in your position, starting out? Number 2, now this one is a pill that is a little hard to swallow, and I can understand this, but try and remember, you're not all that yet. So why are you here? Be honest. You already think you know most of what you need to know to succeed. And I've had lots of experiences where either student interns or practicum students come into the office and, within about the first 6 or 7 minutes, they already want to know when their raise will kick in and how many weeks it will take before they get a promotion. There's a lot of things to learn in the working world, and you can usually take a lot of those lessons and translate them into the rest of your life as well. Number 3, your mentors can and will be wrong, and that's how they got where they are. And you get to be the beneficiaries of their mistakes. Those mistakes are precious commodities. And your mentors are not just sharing them with anyone. So show some gratitude and respect. And in your chosen career path, try and find out from your mentor which rules you can break, which rules you should break, and which ones you should never break. And always remember the golden rule. Does anybody know the golden rule? No? It's he who has the gold makes the rules. Okay? Savor the harsh realities that you will inevitably encounter on your way up. Remember that 20 to 25 years from now, it's payback time. You will be the ones invited to this networking event and mentorship. And you will be telling your prodigies what it is that helped take you to the next level. And you'll have learned that negative feedback is much more useful and informative than positive feedback. What do you remember? What makes more of an impact on you? And throughout the course of your mentoring relationship, don't be afraid to be heard, but make sure that you have something to say. And if you're not being heard, consider that you might be talking to the wrong person. That's a hard pill to swallow for some mentors. Again, some of them can and will be wrong. But you also need to know that people who excel and people who succeed don't really have time to waste. So don't waste their time, but don't waste your own time either. Make sure you value yourself. You'll meet all kinds of people on your path, some who insist on seeing only the obstacles in the way. And for those people, sometimes obstacles give them a measure of comfort. If you can't do something, you can't do it. There's no way you can do it. You can't get around, you can't go over, you can't go under. You can't do it. Great, don't have to do anything. But for people who can actually see that the forest is the trees, those people are going to make it through. Number 7. Is anybody following? No. Don't let someone else's vision of success define yours. My mom still doesn't think I have a real job. And my mother-in-law is still hoping that my husband Roman, who produces a daily Ukrainian radio program and is program director for a Rogers radio station, will eventually get a real job too. And when your life's work is in the community, this is a common fallacy. It's not a real job. It's a pastime. It's something you should do in your spare time. And you should do it all for free. And I'm living proof that that's not always the best way to achieve success for your community. So never ever downplay or ignore the intrinsic benefits of your Ukrainian Canadian heritage and the community that has created the organizations and the structures that are here to see you succeed. But take it for what it's worth. This is the gift that we are all given, being part of this community. Number 9, always consider the source of the comment or criticism and don't give it more credence than it deserves. Learn what to listen for and what not to listen to. At the SUSK, Ukrainian Canadian Congress, during the Ukrainian Dragons competition, I spoke with someone who was a close family member of one of the dragons. And who am I? I'm nobody. She was not nobody. But I asked her, how did the proposals that went up on stage, how did they get chosen? How do we get to these 4 or 5 or however many there were? How did those ones get to be the ones to get chosen? And she looked at me and she said, well, those are the only 5 that ever could have made it. The rest were all pure crap. And in that moment, I felt the greatest inspiration to move ahead with the proposal that St. John's Institute had submitted on behalf of, of our organization. And I am so very glad. I can't wait to thank that same lady for the insight she gave me. It's kind of like being voted least likely to succeed in high school. You have nowhere to go but up. So it's a great feeling. Anyways, don't wait for someone else to see merit in your project or in your ideas. We in the Ukrainian community are famous for this. It's not until it's good enough for Jurij that it's good enough for us, right? If you've done your research though, you know it to be a solid idea, and you know and you calculated the return on the investment it will generate, don't be shy about telling people about it. Repeat it often and turn the tables on that stereotyping. If it's good enough for the Ukrainian community, obviously it's good enough for everybody else too. And learn not to waste your breath on the wrong people. How can you tell if you're talking to the right people? They don't always tell you that you're doing things right, and they don't always tell you that you're doing things wrong. Just recently, I had the pleasure of dealing with somebody in Alberta's Culture Ministry who told me that St. John's Institute would not qualify for an arts operating grant because the majority of our budget has to do with the affordable housing that we provide for the province. And I replied that, well, that was true. All the profit we generate through our residential and commercial activities is used to subsidize arts and culture projects, like the May 1st documentary film screening of Mercury Opera's 104 Underground and live performance, and Bogdan Kurtan's Ukrainian currency exhibit coming up on June 1st. That's why our government is looking to St. John's Institute for a proposal through which we would become a best practices model of the combination of affordable housing and access to art and culture. So that bureaucrat was right. On the one hand, government departments have no programs that can help fund a beast like us. That was her words. At the same time, we've already been told what it is that the government wants to achieve, but seems to find it very difficult to do. So she said no. But what did she give me? She gave me a great argument to go and talk with her minister about the little bit of a difference between what they're doing and what they're saying. So I thank her for that opportunity. Anyways, our credo, and I'll wrap up shortly, or should I say the key platitudes by which we operate St. John's Institute. Look for a way to say yes, and I think your mentors, they had the option to say yes or to say no, to be a part of tonight, to be a part of the Dragons, to be a part of all the organizations that they give of their time to. But you should always also look for a way to say yes. If someone asks you for help, whether it's an organization, another student, a nonprofit, find a reason and find a way to say yes. Now, I have a reputation for chasing squirrels. Oh, look, there's one. Oh, no, there's another. Oh, we should go after this project. We should go after that project. And it's widely assumed by many that I cannot say no, but I should correct that assumption. It's not that I'm unable to say no. It's that I never say no unnecessarily. That's cutting off your nose to spite your face. And what I found in the model that we use to run St. John's Institute is that everything we put out there or we put into someone else's project comes back to us at least tenfold. And if you followed along any of the newsletters, any of the community updates that we've been sending out, you'll see that it's actually not rhetoric, it's very true. Now, you've all heard of SWOT analysis? Yes, everybody's heard of SWOT analysis. Here's my take on SWOT, and I say this in full knowledge of the fact that I'm regularly accused of wearing rose-colored glasses. Threats are the opportunities. Think about that. You've heard the phrase, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. One of our biggest weaknesses, and many of our community organizations suffer from this, is misinterpreting opportunities as threats. Oh my goodness, we can't possibly do this in that way. We've done it this way for 30 years, why would we change it now? Well, you just answered your own question. What thing in life do you know that has remained the same over 30 years and is still thriving? Second last point for the mentees, be resourceful, don't be lazy. Hopefully you're not just here because your parents helped you buy the ticket or they gave money to somebody's organization and you get a chance to dress up and have fun and all those other good kinds of things that our parents afford us the opportunity to do. But you can't be lazy. If you're encountering a difficulty in your professional life, you need to think, have you actually done everything that you personally can to get where you're going, to get to the next step? Have you ever heard the phrase, there's always more than one way to skin a cat? Does anybody actually know what that means? Why would you need to skin a cat? Anyways, I don't know why you would need to, but if it's something that you do need to do, there's always more than one way to do it. And if you don't do it right the first time, go and get another cat. Anyways, last point. Don't be short-sighted. This is both for mentors and mentees. Don't be short-sighted and learn to recognize short-sightedness in others. It's very devastating and you can't let it dissuade you. Don't let it overcome good ideas. What I found out is if I have an idea and I have the vision to see that I will start out at point A and it will eventually end up at point Z, I can see all the connecting points in between. But perhaps the person that I'm talking to, those points are so large that they're actually the obstacles that you can't see around. And again, some people are very comfortable with the obstacles because it means you don't actually have to move forward. For me, sometimes the word no is a hurdle, sometimes it's an obstacle, and sometimes it's a springboard. But you have to get close enough to that word no to be able to check it out. It's a great word. It's amazing what no can incite you to do. But I have a feeling that if my interaction with the students here and some of the mentors here tonight is any indication, we're all in good hands, both mentors and mentees. So enjoy your evening, make some connections, make some progress, and make us proud. Thank you.